here we are. Guten Abend, everybody.
Good day.
How's it going?
Great. All right. So before we get into it, I'll make a little introduction. First of all, let's start with Paul Bess. He is working for Vinyl Community, which you can obviously see on his sweater. And he's working for Vinyl Me Please, I think, for the last 8 years as a senior customer care manager and community manager, if I got that right. And I know we are super busy, so thank you so much for making this happen. A big thank you to Rocco from Pieces of Vinyl. He started his channel in April 2022. He gained a large community within a short time. It was absolutely great and fantastic presentation. I love his videos. He is one of my go-to channels for Vinyl Me Please. I'm not into gear, but I'm also watching his gear videos because he's doing it so great. And also Michael 45, customer reviewer. I think many of you know you're up here, and thank you so much for making it happen. And Michael, the two of us, we're having a little premiere tonight. It's the first time you are on my channel.
Right. Feels the same somehow. Justin Peters, Nick Fantasy, Liam Molyneux, Angelo Kelly.
So, thanks everybody for coming and for watching. I keep a little eye on the contact, on the comments, so we will see how is it going. So Paul, is this your first live stream you're doing?
Yeah, with the community members. Yeah, we do a quarterly Q&A over on our Discord with Andrew Winnestorfer and I going through the record of the months and asking or answering questions from our community. But as far as just a live stream with straight up community members, yeah, this is my first. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks to Rocco for making that possible. Without Rocco, it wouldn't be possible at all. So big thanks to him.
Thanks to you, Nadine. This was all your idea.
Okay, we thank each other. Okay, Paul, Vinyl Me Please is opening up their own pressing plant, which I think is also big news and very challenging for you guys. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we announced it, I think it was last year, some point in time, escapes me now these days. But yeah, we announced that we're building our own pressing plant here in Denver. You know, capacity has been a huge thing. And I think more and more people who are seeing the trends of vinyl are starting to look into, you know, like we saw Metallica buy out one pressing plant, and, you know, a lot of labels are now starting to kind of see the importance of capacity, and they're running into not having capacity. And we also are running into similar issues. And so decided, you know what, we want to take all the quality and all of that in-house so that we can make sure we're putting out the highest quality stuff that we can. We got people like Gary Sahlstrom and Dave Rawlings, you know, with us. Gary's going to be managing the floor, you know, and he has years and years and years of experience pressing records and pressing amazing sounding records too. So really it was just out of part necessity and part, like, you know, more pressing plants are good for vinyl and all. So we just really wanted to give it a go, and it's been slow moving a little bit. You know, permits are a thing, and, you know, you got to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted, but, you know, we're hoping to be pressing records here within a couple months, and we're going to be building out a front of house experience with it, and people will be able to tour it and everything. And hopefully it's going to, I mean, we announced our Impulse box set was going to be pressed there when we do start pressing. So the plan is then to move on to classics, and hopefully one day with enough machines, we can just do all the Rotoms and most of VMP projects in house.
So your plan are like, for example, Analog Production does it, that you do stuff at your own plant by now, but other stuff also still at GZ and other record pressing plants, right? But
yeah,
on your plant, all of
it. That's the plan currently, because again, like, there's obviously some spin up that we have to do, and we got to make sure the newer machines are, up and running to our standards and whatnot. So we're still obviously going to be using the pressing plants and partners that we've have in the past. But yeah, the goal is to, really bring in most, if not all, VMP projects, into the plant. And there has been questions of, are we going to be taking outside projects or stuff like that? Really, outside of VMP stuff and a couple of the partners in the like I mentioned, Dave Rawlings, we'll obviously be working with him to do some of his pressings and stuff like that. But really, it's mainly for VMP projects for sure.
Yeah, otherwise it would be a shame. It took you years to get GZ to a certain standard. Now that you are there.
And we've really been really pleased with where we've gotten our relationship with GZ, and they really do, as the customer service guy, it is hard to have everybody who buys a record from us get the perfect record first try. I mean, you mentioned, Nadine, how you got like 3 or something, and like it's hard when that is the case, and like I know we have some members in Australia where when it's their summers, it gets really hard to deliver their records without it being a little bit warped because of the heat, stuff like that. But we really tried to, and I think have succeeded at really reining in some of the, problems that were happening at the plant side of things. And really that's what our pressing plant, we're going to be super honed in on, is just like the QC part and making sure whatever comes out of our pressing plant is like the highest of quality for sure.
Correct.
You guys are also having live art. Oh, sorry.
Please go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt. So you guys are also having like live artists and like people are able to visit the plant eventually too?
Yeah. Because we're the location of the plant is actually going to be across the street from one of the newer venues in Denver called Mission Ballroom, and it's an amazing venue. And we're going to be working closely with them to try and see what opportunities of partnership are there. But really, like I said, the front of house, it'll be like a cafe / cocktail place at the front of house with listening stations and stuff like that, to where you can like spin some vinyl that was pressed at the plant. Tours are definitely going to be a thing. That's what I'm so excited about being on our community side, is I just want to get all of our community members just come to Denver and make a stop at the pressing plant and see how it's made and get to meet some people. Because we used to do more community events where I would meet members, but had to stop those a couple of years ago, and I've just been itching to get events like that created again. So having a hub where members can come and kind of visit is I'm really excited about.
Okay, so we get many questions. Sorry, we're getting many questions. So Reg Krause's vinylist asks, who will produce the sleeves for the records?
I think the idea is to have print work also in-house as well eventually, because I think we're doing metal work and all of that in-house as well. I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure that's going to be in-house too, because we wanted complete control.
That would be amazing, because this is also a little bottleneck, right, with the jackets.
Yeah, it also causes some confusion when we say something was pressed somewhere and then the jackets are made somewhere else, because they'll look on the back at where the jacket was manufactured and say, hey, I thought you said this was pressed here. And we're like, jackets are somewhere else, records are. So it definitely would be easier to have it all just under the VMP umbrella. Yeah.
All right, there's one question which I wanted to ask later on, but it's coming up now, is vinyl please store in Europe. Would be nice because the enormous shipping costs do not allow ordering more often for everyone. And I'm totally with you on this, Manfred.
Yes, that has been, like I said, I think this will be my 8th year here. I mean, I think by my 2nd year we had been looking into that. I'm not so versed in the minutia of why it hasn't happened, but I know there's just so much that goes into it. When I first started, we had just actually went through a warehouse move at that time, and so I think it might have been a little hesitation from how that experience went. So they were like, well, we'll get to that when we get to it. But I know we really would love to have one, because we have a huge amount of international subscribers, and I know just, again, being on the customer service side, having to deal with that custom stuff and even DHL sometimes with the local post office and the relationship between the two, it can just be a nightmare. And so I definitely know that's a goal to eventually have something over in Europe to just make that a lot easier. And it also, when I first started, I was like, so they get pressed in the Czech Republic and then we get them and then send them right back over sometime. Man, that feels, but
Blue Note Classic series.
Yeah, so it's like, but then again, Dan, who heads up our fulfillment department, I say this lovingly, Dan, if you're listening, but he's a supply chain nerd, and so he loves supply chain, he loves fulfillment, and he's been very much looking into stuff like that. I don't have any solid details. We kind of like to keep some stuff close to the chest, but it is something we are looking into for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Might the reason be that until now you just sold your records, and of course for you it's not a big issue if you sell them in the United States and or Europe, but maybe if the capacities now goes up, the vinyl demand slows a bit down, there's also a little pressure on your side to figure out a decent way of fulfillment in Europe, right?
100%. I mean, I think even as just vinyl in general is exploding, and yeah, we're going to start shipping to more and more people. Again, that relationship between DHL and the local postal services can sometimes be strenuous, and international people save more when they buy more, but the bigger boxes are the ones that are, there's more hanging on the balance when that goes missing or something, so that definitely has always been top of our mind. But honestly, really it comes down to basically not so much of a business decision as far as a customer decision, because we really do want to, respect and give options to the international member. I mean, I always talk about our store drops being around a similar time to where international folks are like, waking up at ungodly hours just to snatch something from the store. So it's like, maybe we can drop something at an international time, like some of the stock then and now, whatever, so there's always that thought, especially from my end, of what the customers are feeling. So as far as a European like fulfillment warehouse or something, anything like that, yeah, I'm all aboard. If it was my decision, we would have done it, but I'm not the business guy, unfortunately.
Give us an estimated guess. How many percent stays in the US, and how many percent of vinyl please goes abroad?
Oh,
that's a good question. I would have to imagine it's like 70% domestic, 30% abroad, maybe 80%, 20%, kind of a split. The international has grown, oddly enough. Every time we have done a price increase in the past, international members are actually still the ones that kind of make out with deals. And so oddly enough, when we do price increases, that international number becomes a larger and larger chunk. But yeah, I would say 70 to 30.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah.
So for everybody on the Peanut Gallery, I'll be marking questions and we will be asking them later on. Vinyl Me Please has always been very open. If it's been an all analog release, it's been done digitally, which was very transparent, and I loved that. So there was, even before we talk about MoFi and all of this, you guys were very transparent about the whole thing. Why was that all a big deal for you guys to doing an AAA release? Because I think that your target group is a little younger than what people call an audiophile, let it put it that way. So why do you going the whole 9 yards to deliver that? Because I can imagine people in their 20s, in their 30s, who buying a TLC record or whatever, are don't having high-end systems. So why is that so important for you guys?
That's a multifaceted answer, but I can start off with classics. Our classics track was really where we kind of put the stick in the ground of like AAA, it's got to be. And really that was to cater to audiophiles. We wanted to kind of walk the walk that of the talk that we were talking, and we had been saying for a long time that our quality was really high, and we knew the audio files, that's AAA, and that's going to be the highest quality, and that was really important to them. And so I think now, because why we have doubled down on it is because we believe in that quality, and that regardless of where you are, I mean, you know, you could have an entry-level turntable and not really good speakers or whatever, but a AAA pressing should still sound better than just a normal pressing, you know, regardless, no matter what your setup is. And so we really just wanted to plant our flag in the quality and just say, you know what, if we can make it AAA, we're going to, because that's going to be the closest to what the artist like originally intended. Obviously, you know, more modern stuff, if it was never recorded analog, not much you can do. But where it was, and where, you know, we can get the tapes where they're still able to, we can. And the transparency thing came from me just begging for us to do it, because it makes my life in the support queue a lot easier when I can just, you know, point to the chain of audio, because people care. And I think some brands, you know, like maybe assumed didn't, and, you know, not naming any names, but, you know, there was definitely been some like, maybe they don't care, maybe they won't notice. But in my experience, they do, and they do every time notice. So if they care, we should care enough to give them as much info as we possibly can.
For
Right.
me, that's why that's why I really got into the service in general, was because the quality and the entire package. Like, I know that I'm getting a AAA lacquer, or plus you're very transparent about it. If it's not going to be AAA, like you don't say that it is, or you don't even, or you'll even say like side 2 was because side 1 lost the master tapes or something like that. But I mean, even a lot of people in the comments too, I mean, everybody seems to agree that the quality at Vinyl Me Please is just great, which is awesome that that's where you decide to start to. I think that's what speaks to other great services and brands that we all love, is like, when you go for quality first, that's always the best way to go.
Yeah. And I think, you know, Nadine, to your demographic point, even the younger crowd with, you know, not as high end systems or whatnot, like, sometimes, you know, the AAA might not be important, or, you know, what we've seen, sometimes the price is just like too much. Like, I can't spend $50 on a record, but sometimes they do, because they really want that deluxe edition. But and that's why we, you know, created a Discord to try and give a place to interact with like-minded people and get knowledge without having to necessarily buy into it if you don't necessarily have the money to get the nice deluxe version of something. And I think that's where the younger crowd really has surprised me in our Discord, is that like they're actually very much interested in not looking to get like an old copy on Discogs for $10. They're like, no, I kind of want the brand new deluxe edition, anniversary edition. So that's kind of been surprising in a lot of the numbers that we've seen. So I think vinyl is just getting so big that AAA is going to start to matter to them, and as they get more into the community.
But I can imagine that the demographics on the classic series is different than on the hip hop series, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, very, very different. And you know, oddly enough, so much overlap too. But yeah, it is funny to get, especially in the community, just seeing who's subscribed to what. And that's why I love our Discord, because there's so many people who are hip hop nerds that know in and out of everything. But then they can also turn around and tell you the best pressing of any jazz record that you can think of, you know? So I definitely have been so surprised at the variety that our members in our community listens to, the genres.
Are you a record collector, Paul?
Yeah, I actually was, even before I started here. If you can see, this is just,
good to know.
All of this is VMP, just records of the month and my listening thing. But when I started as a member back in late 2014, and by that point I had already been going to record stores, buying vinyl, and building up a collection. And then when I started here, I was told, your collection is about to explode, and it did. And it did.
I've been going back to the early collections of Vinyl Me Please, like, because I noticed that Essentials didn't start until number 52. I'm a big catalog number guy, and so like Essentials doesn't start until 52 because the first 51 were just standard record of the months, and it wasn't
Mhm.
until then that you started Essentials. And then I've been going back because I want to actually get all the new, like I wanted to get all the classics, and then eventually get. I'll probably try to eventually get all of them, but I started to get some hip hop ones too, and I got the first country one, which was the oh, now it's coming, it's going, leaving my brain right now. The Johnny Cash,
Johnny
the
Cash,
Johnny
yeah.
Cash at Folsom Prison, yeah. So I think it's really cool that you guys have like if you go back and look at like the catalog, you can kind of see the lineage of kind of how it's grown, how it started out with like just random. Did you guys just start out with just pressings, like just you were just basically another place to get a standard pressing, but then you
Yep.
started making exclusive pressings, right?
Correct. Yeah. So from us, yeah. So now Essentials 1 through, let's see, I have the list pulled up here, so I was prepared. I think the very first, it was Essentials up until volume 16, which was Diarrhea Planet. They were the very first ones where we actually got an exclusive color. Otherwise, we basically, at the time, Matt was our old CEO, Cam's our current CEO, would just kind of hit up distributions and ask if they could get a certain amount of records to send to our members. And so everything before Diarrhea Planet is just a standard pressing. Everything after, especially in record of the months, is all exclusive in some way to us. Yeah.
Nice.
And then,
That's
I mean,
pretty cool.
Classics was the first track that we added, and that's where it went from record of the month to records of the month. And I mean, it blows my mind how many now tracks that we have. And
That's so true. I mean, you put out how many records each month? It's unbelievable.
I mean,
The
just
coordination must be insane.
and if you can believe it, there's only 30 people working at VMP. Really, like we're still a somewhat small team that we get
Wow.
crazy amounts done, and it's taken a lot of, and I think that's what, a lot of people who are kind of negative towards VMP don't necessarily understand or care to understand, is that this was started by people who weren't in the music industry and who just loved records and wanted to start a record of the month club. And then, Cam, our CEO, he was in the Air Force before this. And so like he didn't come from the music side either. And so I think while there were, stumbles or hiccups or whatever, a lot of our success comes from we did things a certain way because we didn't know any better or we didn't have those preconceived like music industry notions of like, oh no, you can't do that. We just were like
Fresh eyes, right? Fresh eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Fresh eyes. So we've definitely, have come a long way, but yeah, it's like, there's 5 tracks now. What is that, including Dolly, Essentials, hip hop, classics, rock. Okay. So yeah. And then, who knows if there's more on the way. Probably can't tell you, but yeah,
Of course you can.
Of course,
Yes, you can.
No, don't be
Come
shy on
that's
that.
why
Oh
you're
yeah,
here.
right. We gave the spoilers tag. We gave the spoil. No, but yeah, it is amazing how many we put out each month, and it's really cool to see. We're in the process of making it better, but our community members beat us to it. One of them made a Google sheet that has a really nice breakdown of all of the record of the months from beginning to now, all the mastering details. They even have the art prints cataloged. I'm just like, our community is amazing. I love them. Shout out Dan on.
Is there somewhere that people can get that, or like I could get that, or
in our Discord? Yeah, in our Discord.
okay, so in the Discord, okay.
Yeah. We've been
Awesome.
trying to drive people there more and more because we really want to get people involved with the community. And like I said, we do quarterly Q&As there. We have we just did a Throwback Thursday sale today, but we kept 4 titles off of the email that we only told the Discord. So like they're getting some benefits in there.
So for
I've
those
never
who are
gotten a Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, and he tried desperately. He had, I think, 3 records in his basket at 12, and he wanted to buy them. A couple seconds later, they were already gone. Is that right, Rocco? Yeah.
No, they were, yeah. I've never, like, every time I've tried to get a Throwback Thursday, it's even today. Like, I had an alarm set at like 11:15. I was trying to get the Eddie Floyd Knock on Wood, and I missed it. It doesn't. It just never works for me. But whatever. It's cool. I mean, that just means a lot of people are getting it, man. It's great.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
but I have to say, this is one of the points I have to critique
Yes.
Vinyl Me Please a bit,
Please.
because to really understand all the features and how to handle it, you need a diploma. And yeah, that's sometimes it's too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want to buy records.
Oh, I mean, again, as the guy who has had to train CS agents, trying to explain to a brand new person, what we are, what we do, and then explain the questions that they're getting, like it's complex, and that's definitely something, you know, as we add tracks or, you know, do limited tracks with Dolly, or, you know, anthologies, or even these kind of mini anthologies like with Gospel Truth, it's like it is on our minds of like not making it too complex, and we're also at the same time trying to simplify where we can. And we just mentioned in a recent Q&A how all of the liner notes are different formats, and that's partially because they were just the same. Like Classics was the first, so that was the ever first edition of liner notes that we did, and so those are those older looking booklets with the Obi slide on it. We're going to standardize away from that and make all the liner notes the same, just to remove confusion. Just because we got so many people that are like, well, why is this one different than this one? Is it always going to be like that? Like there's so much that can confuse anybody. And especially
this is so sad. What I hate when the design of a series gets changed in a running series.
I know. Oh,
this is a nightmare.
The Obi strips. Oh, it hurts my eyes that we had the all wraparound old white Obi strips. Then we stopped doing Obi strips for a little bit, and then we did the white ones with a little bit of color, and now we're to the black. Yeah, see, and I have even these.
So these are the newer ones. These are the newer ones. Yep, that's the oldest ones. Yep.
Where they wrap fully around. I know. I'm not.
And those ones that wrapped fully around too, I have found a lot with people on Discogs. Those ones that wrapped fully around, I don't know how they used to be packaged, but it seems like nobody has them. It's like, oh, I have this record, but I don't have the Obi strip, or I don't have the drink thing, and that drives me nuts. Like, I'm like, why would you get rid of that?
I put mine in a plastic sleeve, but they came in the cardboard just with the record sitting in the white wraparound. And yeah, I mean, I'm surprised most people didn't throw away more stuff, because I mean, I still hear people now throwing away our Obi strips, and I'm like, but they're like, it's fine. It's either here nor there. Everybody they can do what they want. But
those original ones are signed. Those original ones are like hand signed, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you go early enough, they were signed by us, because before we went to a fulfillment center, it was just the 5 people working here fulfilling from a basement in Louisville, Colorado. So some of those really old early ones have a little personal touch to them as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Go back to it.
You
sign all the copies now.
Totally an easy thing to do. Actually, funny enough, when we did Blue Note, and the very first anthology, we fulfilled that ourselves as well, and we were much bigger at that point than when we were in Louisville, and we got to see a really bootstrapped fulfillment, and we were like, okay, next one we're gonna not do that. So.
All right, I have a question. I hope I spelled that correct, from Tubalendia. I hope I spelled it correct. Is there ever going to be a way to just pay a fee and pick only a certain records without being on a specific track?
I mean, we kind of do that. It is a little more involved because, you know, the tracks are more, the way I look at it is the tracks are more in case you are a set it and forget it kind of a person. If you are really open into the discovery part of VMP and you are just down to get whatever we curate and you don't really want to think about your membership, but you do kind of care about the genre that it's in, you know, just go to hip hop. You know, it's going to be just hip hop. Go to country, just country. I do think, you know, there's swaps that you can swap to something else entirely. There's swap for credit where you can just not get a record of the month and just get store credit. But again, I get what they're saying. It is a little more involved. There's not a way of just paying a straight up fee and then you get to shop as you can. We used to have it. It was the crate. It was $6 a month way back when old prices were old prices. And it just gave you store access. We kind of got rid of that once we got non-member pricing and member pricing. And so there's definitely been iterations, but I have definitely mentioned it a couple of times that I would love to have kind of just like another crate option where you just pay for access and then you can pick up whatever you want to pick up. But it's always a tug of war between member benefits and general customer benefits. You know, you got to make sure each side can kind of get a benefit where they want one.
When I announced that we are doing this stream, there was one question always on top of it, and I'm now getting messages all over Instagram when I'm going to ask you this. But the mailer situation seems to be a big thing for many people.
Mm-hmm. We are working on it. It's been an unfortunate answer, as vague as it is, I know. But we have been, especially in the last year, I mean, Dan in our fulfillment department, he and our design team have been going back and forth on multiple boxes. And I know I think a few months ago, they had whittled it down to a few different, because that's the other hard thing too, is everybody in the vinyl, a lot of the vocal people in the vinyl community have their opinion on what box is the best or who does the best mailers. And so we've been trying to just test where they tell us to go, because we do really listen to the community because they're the ones getting the stuff. So we're really trying to rein in which design we'd like. And there is one that we have kind of landed on. It's just got to get a little farther into the process, but we are thinking of that. And it's not like we're like, our mailers are perfect. Y'all need to just deal with it.
But come on, Paul. Packing a record is not rocket science. I mean, come on. You're doing this for how many years? Vinyl Me Please, 8 years?
And we've changed our boxes at least a handful of times.
Okay.
I mean, when we first started, they were black boxes. Like they had black ink, they covered in black ink in our branding. Obviously that was not great in the heat. And so we moved away from that, you know? So again, we were a group of people that did not come from this, that were just doing it and then learning as we went. And we're not there now. You know, we have learned so much, but the boxes are definitely one of the things that on fulfillment end is being hard worked on right now for sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have a better answer.
I would say the main issue that I've had with the boxes usually comes in when there's 3 or more records. Like if it's 1 or 2, the mailers seem to be okay, at least in the US. But when it gets up to beyond 3 or more, that's when like it kind of gets pretty sus in terms of like they probably. I mean, I would just say, you know, the famous mailer that we all love, I think everyone would say, is the Acoustic Sounds mailer. And so like, I mean, something with those winged edges and then something that just basically stops it from hitting the edges of the boxes. You know, those are the two things.
It's so
I know a lot of people have said too that. Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, a lot of people talk about these. A lot of people mention these booklets. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten some from you guys where these booklets will be on the outside of the packaging, because you guys will send them in the flappy things where the booklet will be on the outside, which is great. But then other times where the booklet's on the inside of the record, and that'll usually cause the warp. And so I've heard a lot of people but because I really love these booklets, but I mean, I would just prefer them to be on the outside of the packaging. Yep,
we've got that feedback as well. And I actually think it's not a fully done process, because again, in fulfillment, and especially with records of the month, those get kitted and sometimes they could be kitted in different ways depending on where they were pressed or where that kitting happened. Sometimes it happens at the plant, sometimes it happens at our warehouse.
Oh, right.
And so it can kind of change, but I do know that was a point of feedback I gave to fulfillment, was if we could possibly just ship those on the outside. Just, I mean, it should make
With
it
the
easier.
last delivery, I got mine on the outside, by the way.
Yeah,
And
me
so-
too. The Freddie Roach I got on the outside.
But I do know, like this month, my classics, it was on the inside. So I know it's not across the board change. I think it might be heading towards that, but that is one of the pieces of feedback, especially with those listening booklets that we got, that was easy to kind of take action on. The boxes, it's frustrating. We've run a couple of surveys specifically about the boxes, and it was a very strange split of, if you only get 1 to 2 records, you're always good. Those mailers are good. It's the big ones that suck. And then there was another group of people that was like, if you get the big boxes, you're going to be good, but the small boxes are the ones that you have to worry about. And so it was like, oh, wait, okay, obviously we know to me now that just says the box in general. Let's just look at all of them. And that's exactly what we're doing. And you mentioned those the winged on the sides. Yes, that's kind of a part of what we're looking at as the box where we're landing on, unless something has changed. I don't know.
So Wally is saying, can we ask about all the warped records lately? I've been seeing most of the releases lately with warps myself, and people saying this on Discogs.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is not going to be as the guy who is looking at our numbers, it's a lot of it is summer. Every year when the temperatures rise, our warp numbers go up. Unfortunately, too, when looking at Discogs, the people who got a warped copy are way more vocal than the people who didn't. And so I've seen a lot of times where people will hit us up and be like, hey, I think the whole pressing is an issue, because like I've seen 2 people mention they got warps on Discogs, but then we look at the numbers, we go and test a couple of copies and they're not all warped. It could be, a batch is warped or whatever. So we definitely still take those things seriously and still investigate every single one of them. But it's hard during these hot months. I mean, I just got my shipment. I mean, granted, it was held hostage in my mailbox for much too long because they put the key in the wrong one. But my Willian family live ended up being just a little bit warped, and it was definitely from just the heat. You could tell it wasn't a pressing warp. But as always, if you're getting warped records, please email us. Let us know. We'll get you a replacement, and it helps us make it better. Like I don't want that answer to come across as deal with it, don't email us in. If the record is not to your standards and you don't like it, hit us up, let us know. We definitely want to get you a record that you're happy to have. But yeah, it sucks seeing all those warp reports come in. It's never fun, but we take it very seriously.
Okay, Paul, now
I can say this. Sorry,
Go ahead,
I always keep interrupting. I might be on like a delay. I think I might be on a delay or something. But if you invest in some type of disc fixing thing, you'll probably never get another warped record for the rest of your life. So that's at least been, I'm just making a joke. That's been my situation. I invested in something to fix my warps, and I basically haven't had a warped record come in since. So.
Oh, I know. It's so hard. Because we sometimes would run into it when we would do a pressing, like, I'm trying to think, like Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun. That one ran a little hot, and so all-in-one systems had skipping problems because the bass was just too powerful for those all-in-one systems. And it was very interesting dance to dance in a support ticket of like, I don't want to tell you it's your system, but it's your system. And so it's kind of similar with warps, where it's like, you could fix it, but I understand how it is to be like, hey, this is warped, and the solution is you have to do the work to unwarp it. Like I understand that you're like, I don't want to worry about this, so, but it is true. Like most of my warps, some of them, you just put in between another pile of records for a little bit, and that'll even fix it, I found, but like there's a lot of fixes that you can do to, like the spindle holes. People email in and be like, the spindle hole is too small, like I need a replacement. And I'm just like, just stick a pen in there. Just widen it a little bit? It'll be fine. I've never had to get a full replacement for a spindle hole. They don't like getting that, but it works. What was that, Nadine?
buy a record reamer for a couple of bucks, which is very easy to use. You can stick that in, turn it around, and you have no issues with that.
See, there's always a solution. It's just hard when it's like the solution is not in this ticket. The solution is outside of this experience right now. So, yeah.
Okay, Paul, now a very important question for me as a soul and Discord channel.
Yes.
I love your reissues, and you're one of the few only labels who reissues soul records. And Spirit in the Dark, seriously, that blew me off. That's just, the packaging, the record itself, that's just a stunning, absolutely stunning record. But you know what my issue is with all of these records? I can buy them if I want to in a record store nearby.
Mm-hmm.
They were released in certain countries, also the tough guys with Truck Turner, Isaac Hayes. So how can I make you guys aware of records like when you released the Barbara Haywood in 2019? And I'm always recommending this. I got goosebumps because this was a soul record which was absolutely not available. It was nowhere to be found. And I would wish that Vinyl Me Please would get in touch. So I heard the first time about the Discord channel. So I find out where to get it to make you guys aware, or other people who are into that genre, to make you guys aware of so many, like JJ Barnes never got a reissue on CD or anywhere. I can name you a couple of artists which records are now a couple of $1,000 and you can't get them. Instead of releasing things I love and you're doing them tremendously good, but I can get them if I want to as an original copy.
Definitely. So obviously, like, we pressed Aretha because we love Aretha, and we honestly, with every project, especially now, we do it under the guise of we can add something to this. And so very rarely, I mean, we've kind of, especially in the recent years, we've stopped doing just like color variants that don't add anything to it. Sometimes we do if it's like a good relationship with a band or something, or an artist, but really it's about if we can add something to it to make it better, to improve the packaging, the sound, or what have you. For the records that you're talking about, like the ones you can go into any store, we thought we could add to it. And we were also like, people know Aretha Franklin, and this is going to get people into the classics subscription, to where we then do a Crate Digger title like Dorothy Ashby, where they're like, who is this? I don't know what is this? What's going on? Or Gabor Szabo, like you do those, and then people are like, oh, well, I got in here with Aretha, so now I'm set on your curation, and then they kind of trust us more. But as far as what you can do to bring it to our attention, you're already doing it, because I watched your video mentioning Lee Moses, and it got wheels turning already. And so doing that, but definitely like our Discord or anywhere on our socials. Yeah, yes. I watched that earlier and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah, you're right. You're right. What is going on here? So that, our Discord, our socials, we listen to the community. I mean, there's definitely been albums that our community has, like, we have a whole channel in the Discord called Wish Me Please, and it's just put the stuff you would love us to do. It doesn't matter if it can be as obvious as Frank Ocean or as obscure as you want to make it, but that's really how, because like I said, our curating team, it bottlenecks at one, but most of the projects are pitched by other people working here, especially at this point, so it's just us knowing we want to do something, going to the music team and saying, can we do this? And then they chase it up and we either do it or we don't. So let us know. Like, we trust you guys. Like, we trust the people in the community to know what they want.
Yeah, because with the Barbara Haywood, nobody knew Barbara Haywood. Nobody knew her. And you made this absolutely stunning re-release. I didn't know about the Coal Mine release. And then I saw this and I was on the hunt for this record for 20 years. And then I saw finally a reissue. Like I said, I got goosebumps. And so I would love that you would kind of getting more into this. But yeah. Rocco had a question.
Well, when I wanted you to just dig deeper onto like the process there, like when you identify someone, like, for example, you just mentioned that Lee Moses, if you identify someone like that, like, how do you guys go through to secure all that? Do you have to, like, are there certain licensing groups that you can work with, or can you kind of get with anybody? Is it just a matter of getting with any person that has a master tape?
Yes, no, all of it. It's changed over the years. Obviously, as we have gotten a more presence in the vinyl community and the music industry as a whole, and we build relationships with certain labels, there are certain labels that are easier for us to work with. There's certain managements that are easier for us to work with. And sometimes it's a label, saying, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that we want you to guys do with. What would you be interested in doing? And then we can pick from that. But again, lately, a lot of it is somebody will pitch something in, because Andrew Winnestorfer, our director of music, he holds a pitch meeting, and we'll all just bring something we want to pitch. We'll pitch it, and then they chase it up. And Sid, who handles our store titles and everything, they literally will cold email labels if they have to and try and see if they can get a reply to see if we can get something shaken. But it's a mix. So it's a mixture of both good relationships, good standings with certain labels, but then also sometimes you just got to ask and hope for the best.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Great question, Rocco. Great question. Is there an album title you desperately wanted to do but couldn't make it?
For me personally, there is one, and we could still do it down the line. It just, anytime I pitch something, it's happened to me a couple of times where I'll pitch something and then I'll look and they just reissued it, or I'll ask and then like somebody on the music team will be like, yeah, they're in the process of doing that. And so the biggest one for me, because I'm, I grew up in the early 2000s and loved nu metal. So Slipknot's Iowa album hadn't been on vinyl for a long time. And I was like, we got to do it. And Storff was like all about it. We were going to do it. And then, yeah, they had swooped us and did their own pressing that year. And so we were like, it would kind of not make sense at this point. So that one was one for me that was like, oh, but there's been some, there's been a lot over the years of, hearing murmurs of a project getting off the ground, and then it just never does. And it's always a bummer, but I hesitate to say any, because then sometimes we've worked on something for 2 years and hadn't heard anything. And then randomly we get an email back and they're like, yeah, we're ready to do this. And we're like, oh, okay. We haven't thought about this in years, but here we go. Now we're back to it. So there are definitely some, but we're still working on it.
How many months are you ahead?
At least, I think at this point they're about a year ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. We are, let's see. Yeah. The music team right now is working on all product details and all of that for literally a year out. And we're hard scheduled for all of it. It's just projects are all moving. And that's what's super impressive about our production team. I don't know how they manage it, but they juggle so much with anthologies, record of the months, limited subscriptions. And so they have to be that far out. And because in the past, I remember the month I started as a member, December of 2014 was Ben Webster's Soulville. But at that point, they were only like a month or two ahead, and the records didn't get there on time. And so we had to email people saying, we don't have a record to send you this month. We'll get it to you next month. But we started getting further and further out because, like I mentioned at the top of this live stream, the capacity issues and deadlines and things kind of shifting would sometimes put us in hot water to where we were like, let's just work so far out ahead and it's happened where something happens with a title and we just have to rotate it out, push something up and kind of reorient our curation. Because we definitely think of, if it's going to be a huge hit album, you got to think of what you're featuring the next month. So there's not complete whiplash for the members who signed up for that huge album, so a lot goes into it, but yeah, long answer to now make into a short answer. Yeah, about a year.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Do you press extra copies when you have a title, and do you press extra copies as replacement? Like, say you have record for where you have 500 copies and you say, okay, after 400 we say it's sold out, that we have 100 left to say if it's warped or damaged or anything like this? Is this how it works?
That's about how it works. Sometimes for like anthologies, we usually try to make specific replacement stock so we don't have to split up a fully kitted box set. So those are a little different, but yeah, with records of the month and everything, we keep definitely, we have I forget the ratio, but we have a ratio that is standard across all titles for how many copies we keep back for replacements. And a lot of times that's what you'll find in Throwback Thursdays are copies we kept back for replacements, but now we're not using them for replacements. And so we're giving them back. And on Throwback Thursday, I know it's a bloodbath and sometimes not fun. I know this. We know this. So we're in the midst of like trying to alleviate some of the displeasure from Throwback Thursdays, because we can only say stock is really limited so many times and it still won't make it better. But yeah, I just wanted to get that.
We give you an opportunity now for make up for all this hassle. What will be the first title of the rock series?
Well, we already announced it. It's going to be The Strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They announced the first 6.
Oh, Michael. Yeah.
I missed that. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. We went ahead and this one was a little bit different because we have been just quarterly announcing for the next 3, but with rock we decided to just announce the first 6 titles.
Okay, cool. Oh man, damn! I have to go to your website.
Oh man, that's a shit. Oh man, you just got to get over to the website.
There's a Stone Temple Pilots in there. Stone Temple Pilots number 4,
Good.
I think, is coming in December, and then Iggy Pop is another one, and The Strokes is the first one. Those are just the 3 I remembered off the top of my head.
System of a Down is in there. Toxicity, that's one of them.
Any prog rock? I have to ask for a friend of us.
Not in the first 6, but as a prog rock fan myself, I push for that. I mean, the rock track is for me one of the more exciting ones because I'm a hip hop head and a metal head, or general rock metal head. So this is where I'm like, the pitch meetings have become one of my favorite meetings of the month because like I'm like, I have too many titles that I think we should do. And progressive rock titles, yes, for sure. New metal, sure, why not? Post grunge, sure, why not? Grunge, sure. Like we're trying to do as much as we can. There are so many people asking us about krautrock, like so many.
For a good reason. For a good
reason. I know, but it's just so funny to me because like ever since we announced rock, that was like the top question we got was like, okay, what about krautrock? And we're like, yeah, of course, like let's do it. Man. Oh, I just saw that. I just saw that question pop up about Tool. Just get them to be less finicky about their vinyl, and they don't work with anybody that I know. It's like they do their stuff. I wish we could do Tool. I love Tool. Man. Anyway.
So, any idea if and when the meters Fire on the Bayou is getting repressed?
I don't know, but I'm going to take this as another opportunity to plug our Discord. We'll be pretty. I'm just not the right person to ask because I don't know the full details of all these things. But Andrew Winnestorfer is in our Discord, and he's very honest about what we can and can't do as far as repress goes. So usually you'll get a GIF saying yes or no if we can repress something. I don't remember. Part of me feels like the meters was a no, but I could be wrong, and I don't want to give false dismay. If I don't have to, but
so,
Oh, go ahead.
How can people get on your Discord channel for those who are not so technically involved?
Definitely. You can search Vinyl Me Please Discord on Google. That should pop up. The URL discord.gg/Vinyl Me Please is the link. I can, after we are done here, I can post the link in a comment underneath this video, and that'll be a way too. I think there's also a link that lives on the subreddit if you're into Reddit, and we've tweeted about it a couple times as well. So there's a couple places that you can get the link, but I'll make sure to post as a comment underneath the video.
Thanks. So, Wally, what is the reasoning behind not letting customers see the album details on future release? Like we can see details for the first rock releases, but not the last couple. Just curious.
It'd have to be. I wonder what ones they're talking about specifically. Could be that they're still getting. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just as a customer, what I've noticed the pattern is you kind of like announce you'll have like a question mark for the record of the month, then you'll announce what the record of the month is with just the title of it, and then when the record of the month becomes swappable or becomes like active, that's when like all the information comes in, like the nutrition facts and all that stuff. That's at least just what I've noticed. I mean, because that seems to be what it is. I think he's referencing that. I think the first 3 rock titles you can see all the information on, like all the pressing information and your bio or your annotation about it. But then the later 3, I think, are still like yet to populate, I guess, on the website or yet to like get all the information.
I appreciate you for recontextualizing that, because yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so. Really, it's just the cadence, like you said, it's the cadence of our normal announces. And since we're on 3-month, I'm assuming that the product pages for the first 3-month have been created, but the product pages for the second 3 have either are still on private or they're working on them or something. But also sometimes for, this is the first time we've ever announced 6 months out, and 6 months out is still kind of in a danger zone as far as things could change or whatnot. So it could be also that. I'm not sure. So I'll definitely I'll look into that. And another plug for the Discord. I'll post an answer in the Discord or underneath this video or something. It's a good question, though.
All right. So I know that Paul, you've been pretty busy. We have 4 minutes left till your next appointment, and I do hope we can make a part 2 out of this.
Yes.
That would be awesome if we could interact this way. That would be great. So guys, if you have some questions left, or for Vinyl Me Please, for Paul, you have now 3 minutes left to get into that. What's the specific
Somebody did
reason?
ask.
Oh. Go ahead, Rob.
Somebody did ask about 80s, 90s hair metal. Being overlooked a lot, so if you would want to look into that, I mean, that was just another option for more stuff to get.
Oh yeah, we were. There was a point where Andrew, our head of music, was trying to make an 80s month where every track was something from the 80s. With curation and everything, we haven't been able to nail that down, but we know the 80s are in need of some tender love and care, especially like 80s rock and stuff. I know Storff has been, the country track is really his baby. And so I think that's where he started with the 80s and 90s, was in country a little bit, because country really just hasn't had any vinyl love for a while. So we're working on it. Yes, it's definitely a possibility for sure.
I have my most important question to you is, who comes up with this fantastic names for the vinyl color? Texas Sunrise, Arctic Blue, Moon Night, Dying Frog.
I'm almost positive that's our designer, Clay. He designs all of the box sets and all of the all the good marketing stuff that we do, and Richard, who also does a lot of our marketing materials too. So it's probably Clay, I would say. Which one is that?
This is the Blue Jean Baby. This is one of my favorites. This is the Elton John Madman Across the Water.
That's exactly. I put also out my favorite color.
I love that one. That's the Grateful Dead, right?
Oh, that's
the Grateful Dead.
That's the Blue Galaxy from Aretha. And honestly, before that, I wasn't really into mono, but wow.
Yeah, that Spirit in the Dark pressing, like, I feel like it woke a lot of people up and was like, oh, this is
another good one too.
It's like I've been calling them like store record of the months. Like, there are these store titles that have the quality of a record of the month. One of the other ones that we did was Don't Sweat the Technique, Eric B. and Rakim. That one was amazing. All of those VMP 10 titles that we got to put new Obi strips for, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that I was really excited about this because this was what led me down to get understanding that the first ones, this was one of the originals that you released that was just a regular release, and then you put this out again, so it's one of the early E007. So
Yeah.
you put the obi on this one and then re-released it with this awesome purple vinyl, which is great.
I know, and it's funny because we've also done represses outside of the VMP 10 ones where we've added the new obies. And I literally sit there and think, do I need another copy just so I can get that new obi for my own mental sake of just hopefully, but I end up not.
Well, the answer was yes, of course. Right?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course. I just didn't want to admit it, but yeah, no, it's oh man, those old.
I mean, I'm discovering that some of the obi, like for example, I got this Otis Redding. I don't think I have it right here, but there was an Otis Redding that just re-released with the black obi, but it originally released with a white obi. So that's a little panic moment for me, because then I go like, wait, like I want the white one, like I want the original one, like what? And then I wonder, all right, should I get both of them? And eventually I will eventually get both of them.
Yeah, being here and I mean,
yes,
I have
the
to
answer
fight
is always yes.
I have to fight my completionist thing a lot of like, I don't need everything of everything. Like I don't have space for everything of everything, more importantly. So like it does get a little tricky sometimes, but you know, we make it work.
Liam has, I think, a great with noisy vinyl on issue regarding colored vinyl. I didn't have, honestly.
It can. I know, you know, I've heard, you know, records that are kind of die cut with colors on either different color on either side. There sometimes can be some weird surface noise stuff where the color change happens. And I know some like gold, not gold galaxy. There's a type of gold color pressing that was an issue for us back when we had some of the surface noise stuff issue going on. Just by, and it seemed to be that color. Clear splatter also kind of noisier, we find. So it can sometimes affect it, but not enough to where general statement across the board, this color sucks. Not like picture disc, where picture discs across the board are kind of not great, you know? Yeah, it's not like that, but it seems to sometimes happen. Yeah.
Okay, Joachim is asking, love Vinyl Me Please. Would be good with an update on how likely repress is on titles you are on waitlist for. Seems like few titles get repress.
All I can tell you is hop into our Discord and ask around. Also, our Discord members are very what's the word? They're very good at keeping records. So they could tell you like, oh no, Storff has already said no to that repress, or they said maybe, but it's not in the works right now. So they're very good at answering questions by other community members themselves too. But we're very much open on, you know, if it's a flat, this is never going to happen. Like I know, you know, people have asked us for Weezer's Pinkerton to be repressed. That one's probably not going to happen ever, just with label politics and whatnot. We don't see that happening anytime soon. So there's cases like that where we can be like pretty solid of yes or no, but just got to ask us in the Discord or on our subreddit or on our socials.
All right, everybody.
Evil Empire.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yes. I want that. I'm surprised I even got a copy of that. I don't know how I did it, but I did.
I think it's great that you made that gospel set, which I'm still waiting for since May or
Oh,
so.
it's coming. It's coming.
2019, right?
No.
Yeah.
Don't do that to me, Mike. You see, I'm gullible, and you'll have me thinking that my time sense is just completely off, because that's how it already feels.
I think that's so great, and that's why I love about Vinyl Me Please is that you're doing these kind of anthologies, like with the Zamrock. I mean, Zamrock, that was, I think, one of your most successful box sets ever, bringing that out. I hate myself for not getting it.
I missed it twice. I missed the original and the repress.
Yes, I might get a new turntable.
Once, okay, but twice, not
yes, Michael, I'm getting a new turntable. I have to make decisions.
You get a new turntable?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's very likely. So I have to make decisions. But these are the things that I love so much about Vinyl Me Please, of getting these stuff. I'm very into soul. I didn't even know that Stax had a sub label which released gospel records, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And these are the things why I love this label so much. And I said it in the beginning, my first video, and Vinyl Me Please, actually the reason I started the YouTube channel is I was complaining about new records.
Yeah.
From also Vinyl Me Please, because from some records I have the Leon Ware, I have this one 2 times scratched warp, I have the Lolita Holloway 3 times. So, but for me in the last 2 years, the customer service improved dramatically, and I wasn't having an issue with, I think there was once an issue which was fixed immediately. Good. So you want me back as a customer, and this is...
I have to agree, I don't have any problems in the last 15 months. Ooh. And I get them all.
Damn, that's great to hear. That's great to hear.
Crazy.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool,
but you know, when things went fine, nobody talks about it.
I know. Yeah. That's the hard part too, is like, and I had to learn this early on when I started here, because I would be in the queue and get like 10 tickets talking about surface noise, and I'd panic and be like, oh God, the whole pressing is bad. Like this is bad.
Have to close the company.
Yeah. And I would have to get talked off a ledge of like, do you know how many we pressed? Do you know how many percentage that they are? We're okay. Just replace it. We'll be good. You know? So it definitely, it's a little frustrating. Like I mentioned earlier, when you see Discogs and there's like all people talking about warps, I'm like, I know there's plenty of people who didn't get warp, so it's not everything, but it's frustrating that they got it in the first place. But yeah. Real quick, fun note on that gospel train. I did not know this. I was just talking to Andrew this morning about it. And I did not know he actually got inspired to do that box set, because I guess they put out a compilation of a bunch of singles from these albums. And I had no idea about that. And I wanted to look into that. But yeah, I guess he looked at that and thought to himself, like, but what about the albums? I want to know, like, the rest of these. The singles are good, but I want to know the albums. And didn't think an anthology would do it, but it opened the door for us to maybe do more of these kind of little mini anthology box sets in the store. Or, I mean, with Dolly, the concept of limited subscriptions has opened a lot of doors to us, to where it's like, you know,
I don't think that in Germany we understand the Dolly Parton series. Sorry. That was a series where I said, I'm out. Sorry.
One day, I don't know what'll change, but a Dolly song will get turned on and you'll be like, oh, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. No.
Michael,
maybe
what if they did like
maybe I'm too young. That might be.
What if they did what if they did a krautrock series or something, like a krautrock mini series, you know, or something like that, or even like a Kraftwerk mini series or something. You know, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of my
favorite. Alone, please. Yeah. Don't do Kraftwerk, please.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry,
no, that's one of my favorite parts actually about our Discord too. Is they will do their, like, in the Wish Me Please channel, they'll make their own, like, they'll curate their own anthologies. Like one of our members, DJ S Scripps, he just posted his Dream James Brown anthology, and like. There were some great titles in there, you know, like it was pretty solid. I was like, okay, and again, we listen to our community members, and we do take those, you know, wishes seriously. And if we can, we chase it up. If we can't, we'll let them know. But we're trying to, we have a curation on this that we think, you know, these albums should be listened to, but we're also interested in what the community thinks, because we've gotten a lot of great titles that, like Nadine, you were saying, we don't know about just because we don't know about. But once we know about it, our slogan is lost sounds found. And if that sound has been lost for too long, like, we're trying to find it. So. Yeah.
And I didn't know about this Discord.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I could spread that around a bit. It's a newer thing. It's only, we started it a year ago, and we're trying to grow it organically, you know, not really, it's an amazing group of people in there that are super helpful and just down to talk vinyl. So if you're listening and you're from the Discord, shouts out to you.
Yeah. All right. If you guys are not having any questions, and like I said, I do hope Paul will be, or we will be doing another stream part 2 in this constellation again. That would be awesome. So if you guys aren't having any questions left, Rocco, might be you having some questions. or be good?
Yeah,
Michael, we're
I mean,
all
I'm cool.
good.
I can hang out.
We are all good. So thanks for everybody who watched this stream. It was a pleasure having you, Paul, and thanks everybody for their time.
Yeah.
And yeah, keep listening to Vinyl Me, please. They have some great releases.
Thank you. And you guys keep doing everything y'all doing. I'm a big fan of all three of you. So keep doing it. I'm
Cool,
a
man.
very
Thanks.
avid watcher of all of you. So I was stoked to come on here. I was very excited. So I appreciate y'all wanting to talk some shop about VMP.
Thank you very
Cool.
much. Okay.
Thank you very
Goodbye.
much,
man. Thank you.
See you guys.
All right. See ya.